Welcome to the Off-Grid Podcast, powered by Retreat Caravans. Join us as we dive into the incredible stories of caravanners who've embraced the open road and the off-grid lifestyle. Welcome to another episode of the Off-Grid Podcast, and today I've got the pleasure of Daniel Sahlberg from the caravan industry of Victoria joining me. Welcome, Daniel.
G'day, Tilly. How are you, mate?
I'm fantastic, buddy. I'm nice and warm here in my office, but it doesn't look like you're too warm where you are. You're in the car.
Yeah, I am. I've travelled up the highway to Wodonga Racecourse where we run our Border Caravan and Camp Leisure Fest in August. So we're doing some marking out and preparation for that. And it's a little bit chilly, but that's all right. That's a part of the gig.
So Tilly's got you all chilly down in Wodonga, eh?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's Tilly, what Tilly does best.
Now, Daniel, I must obviously advise everyone who's watching that you are the newly appointed CEO of the caravan industry of Victoria. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. I took over at the start of the year.
Yeah. Congratulations. And from all reports, you're doing a very, very good job. So, continue on with that passion and dedication that you've brought into the job, and hopefully, you'll have your mark on the industry, which, we'll get into your previous mentor a little bit later on in this show. But yeah, keep persisting, mate. You're doing very well from what I hear. Yeah,
thanks, Tilly. It's always good to get a members vote like that. But obviously I've been in industry now for 19 years, so I've been around the traps, started in manufacturing as well. So like Retreat and yourself in the manufacturing game. So I grew up in industry a lot, but also did it as a kid. So really for me, it's focused on the industry and growing the industry and moving it forward. But obviously not unforeign to the association. Been with the association for 8 years. Prior to that as industry development and also then general manager as well. So transition plan's been worked on. So, I as I described at our AGM last week, probably not many people have as much passion as I do about the industry. So I'm keen to get into it and driving this industry forward, but also showcase to the consumers what you can do with our products as well, and our members' products in particular.
I dare say that not many people in the industry will have that kind of a resume either, Dan. 19 years of the industry, you're a manufacturer, you've worked in all facets of the industry body as well. Your experience and knowledge, I know full well, is very, very good. So let me go back a little bit. So you started off in manufacturing, correct?
Yep, correct.
And that was 19 years ago?
Yeah, so 2004, as I describe it, Tilly, and I think you and I probably have a bit alike like this. I was, for me, I was trying to chase around a football, but then got distracted by some other things that you could do as you're growing up, and probably didn't make it to be an AFL superstar. And my grades at school probably didn't replicate that. But I wanted to be an architect, but I didn't get the grades to do that. And then someone I was working with said that his dad worked at Windsor Caravan, and they were looking for a drafting person, and I went for an interview. The person I was meant to meet wasn't there, so I got interviewed by the financial controller at the time, which was a bit daunting, and I said, oh, okay, all right, so here we go. We got the gig. My first week on the job, which was at the start of 2014, I was a lollipop man, which I didn't have a license for, which I now learned that you need. But it was a photo shoot doing all our new models. So I actually got to see them inside, see what they were about and stuff like that. So that was the start of the journey at Windsor Caravans. And after being there for 5 months, where I probably didn't do much drafting, but that's okay. You learnt a lot and talked to a lot of people and learnt a lot of things. The people that I was working with when and started up Concept Caravans at the time, yep. And I got thrown in the deep end. So it was either a sink or swim moment for me. And
so a caravan industry walkthrough, I guess, jump in and see if you can make it.
Exactly right, mate. That's exactly right. And, we also then lost a lot of our production experience. The days that we have now with full detailed plans and details about the product and how to build it, the knowledge was all on the shop floor. And that's only, 20 years ago as we talk about it. But as I learned, I would put that into our drawings and drafting so that I would learn. But, I made some big mistakes. But my philosophy was always about see what the solution is. And we created new layouts, new products, new models out of those errors, so to speak, which turned into more sales and stuff like that as well. So I learned a fair bit there, moved into, I think, so 2004, then a couple of years later, moved into a manager position. So product development, drafting, and we were owned by a corporation as well, Fleetwood Corporation. So we had Corrimal and Camac as well, and then Rainbow Homes and a few others. So I dealt with those guys and got the corporate knowledge as well. So got exposed to a lot of that stuff.
So then, Daniel, after that illustrious career as a caravan manufacturer, I guess master of all trades, what made you go to the dark side, I guess, of the industry body?
I want to call it the dark side, Tilly. I look at it as a
maybe we might.
I call it working with lots of manufacturers and lots of businesses like yourself. So for me, it was actually getting to experience a lot more of the industry, which is really good. But Windsor, as it was a corporation, they decided to shut down the manufacturing plant in Camberfield. It was behind the NCE building there, but they decided to shut down the business, and I was one of two that got offered to go to Perth, but I said, I'm not ready for that in my life. So I stayed. But fortunately for me, yeah, correct. Still trying to chase that footy career. So I think it's still trying to come. But we, I looked at it, and fortunately for me, I'd been a part of a number of industry meetings prior, and I had a bit to say because I don't hold back and I just tell it how it is. And within 2 hours of the announcement coming out about Windsor, I had a couple of phone calls saying, we had a lot to say about this meeting. How about you take over and lead this program, which was the old RVMAA and developing the RV MAP accreditation program.
Yeah, fair enough. And we'll get to, I guess, how the industry's changed very shortly. But yourself, Daniel, have you done much travelling in a caravan or camped out in the past?
Yeah, certainly, mate. So as a kid, did it with my grandparents. So both grandparents, one was in Port Arlington and one was in Phillip Island. And then the Phillip Island one, they said, stuff for you guys, we're going to go travel Australia, which they did every Anzac Day. So they were my consumers on the road because they travelled up to Darwin, left Anzac Day, come back around our footy finals down here in Melbourne. Yeah. And so I got to get a lot of insights about travels from them. But my grandparents then, the other grandparents that were in Phillip Island moved up to Echuca. So moved up to Echuca and we're up there until I was 18, 19. So even when I was at my Windsor time, and then they sold that. But I've got the bug, Tilly. Obviously designing them. I do own a product. What I did during COVID, I got the itch, and I always wanted to get an old one and renovate. It was always the plan. So I purchased a 1972 Viscount 24-foot two-door model. So it's currently under renovation. It hasn't moved too fast because there's a lot of work to do with the industry and stuff like that. But the chassis's been done and the inside's been stripped. The next bit is to take off the outside because I've got to reshape the walls and new windows and stuff like that. So that's where that's at, Tilly.
Well, mate, we might have to get some of our contractors to give you a quote. Might help you out, Daniel. So you can focus on your footy career. And I'll tell you what, if you're any good at goal kicking, we'll take you at Carlton.
Yeah, we might be able to help Harry Mackay with his goal kicking, mate, that's for sure. But I, from knowing people in the industry, I just heard it's mates rates, so that's okay. I can sort that out.
Of course. Mates are very expensive these days.
They are, that's for sure.
Now, mate, I obviously first got the pleasure of meeting you when you were the general manager of the caravan industry of Victoria. And I dare say you had a very good mentorship by Rob Lucas, who's vacated that role. Now, Rob's gotten into a slightly different area of the caravan industry with his experience as well. What's Rob up to these days? And, I guess what have the caravan industry dedicated his time to try and helping out the whole caravan industry?
Yeah, I'll probably touch on the mentorship firstly, Tilly, and then move into the direction. So, yeah, Rob was a great mentor for me through the journey. I think how I would describe it is he opened the doors, but he brought me along for the ride to learn. At the start, it was sit there and listen, but learn. And you don't get that a lot. I got exposed to a lot of people, exposed to a lot of different types of conversations, and just that pure experience helped me on the journey. But really the vision had been set prior to the role. So I came in as industry development at the start to take on what was our strategic plan. So there was a strategic plan that Rob developed, the first of its kind for the industry, 2012, which was a 10-year plan. And I was then to implement those programs. And one of those was the training college. And I helped with Rob set that up. We went through a couple of TAFEs. But what we learned is the TAFEs tried to probably commercialise it too much, and our industry is unique in the way it's constructed and the products it used, but the TAFEs would try to turn it into more higher volume per se industries, even though we're now showing how big we are, but they wouldn't use our products. And one example was the TAFE goes, "Oh, we'll show you how to build the walls and we'll use what we've got." We said, "What, 90 mil studs?" And they go, yeah. Well, our industry doesn't do that. So what's the point? Same with another one was, we'll teach them to use car suspensions and axles with different products. So we've got to teach and train our products. So after going through 3 TAFEs, we learned that we needed to become masters of our own destiny. And that was always Rob's goal and passion, was about the careers, the training, the professionalism within the industry, and the people. And that's, we created a succession plan in 2021 with Rob and I, that it will be a 3-year and then a 2-year. So the 2-year would form into the training college. But we knew that it had to happen a lot quicker, and Rob realised that himself. So what we did is we escalated it. So rather than 3, it was a 1. So then I took over at the start of this year with the association. But Rob's the National Caravan Industry Training College now is its own separate business. It is tied back to the association with some seed funding and stakeholdership and et cetera like that. But he's now running that with the team to get the training for our industry off and running. So it's going to be its own RTO, so registered training organisation, very soon. It's not too far away. So that'll, it's a great initiative for the industry in terms of driving the standards for people, that career path and upskilling constantly within the industry.
It's definitely a great initiative, and I've been lucky enough to attend some of those sessions that the National Training College put together. And someone who, like myself, I've been in the industry for 13 years, and seeing some of it and being a part of it, although it might feel a bit mundane, it's a refresher as well. And for a lot of people that haven't been in that sort of environment, it's a good step up for their experience and their knowledge, and something to, I guess, solidify where they want to get to in our industry. Because as you know, you could start off as a warranty advisor like I did, and work your way up to being the right hand man at a manufacturing or a dealership company,
or in your case actually running the whole place and making everyone else look good.
Daniel, mate, I try to make myself look good. I try.
That's why there's 2 minutes with Tilly.
That's right. I see you're a big fan. So
big fan.
Now, Dan, 19 years is a long time in caravans. What have you seen as the biggest transformation in our caravans? Because, when you started, much like when I would have started 14 years ago, every caravan was timber, door paneling inside. There wasn't much of a colour range, let alone the electronic side of things, right? The caravans themselves, what have you seen different? And maybe more so the lifestyle?
So, when you say colours, you mean just the one colour, timber colour that you could have inside your van, yeah? That's what you meant?
It might have been the maple and mahogany.
Correct. We used to call the light one Sky Beach, so yes. There was always, that's right, too. There was a light and a dark timber. But it's an interesting journey, Tilly, I think, with our products and our industry and the evolution of it. Caravanning's always been in the blood of the Australian demographic. We've got so many great places to see and do, and I think COVID probably showed that over the last few years by staying local, which escalated that. But if I was to describe the change of industry, when I started, it was 13, 14-foot pop-top caravans that had a bed, had a sink, and had a microwave. That was, had a stove,
no battery packs,
mini grill, and no batteries, none of that. We shifted into probably in the late 2000s provisions for solar and batteries, which the dealers did. The GFC taught us that the manufacturers could do it and do it in mass, which would be a greater value proposition to the consumer, and we escalated. But, there was always this talk about lightweight products and making the vans smaller as they started to grow, because, we started to get into some ensuite vans and shower toilets in the late 2000s, but it was probably 10% in that time. But that's really flipped, and it's continued to grow, and it's interesting. I think we've probably followed more the American market than the European market that we all thought that we would. The European market had the rounded shapes, with the door paneling and all that sort of stuff. But our industry probably grew in size with its products, and having that house on wheels, so to speak, in terms of what we've got. So the 19-foot, 20-foot, and then into 22-foot caravans have been sort of the norm now. But I think, and you guys have been the leaders of this charge, and the big change and revolution that we're going through at the moment is electrification, and we saw that with you guys probably 5 or 6 years ago. I was talking to Andrew from AusX recently at the conference about this and said, how long ago did we sign a confidentiality agreement about this, and the journey that you guys were on in your offices there. But I think there's still more to come about this. And even for me, someone that's been in the industry a long time, and particularly technical compliance, I don't understand it. So there's a lot of education that we've got to do for the consumer. And I think that's where it's going to go. I don't foresee our products necessarily getting smaller. We'll look at production methods. We'll look at lightening the products and probably engineering them to be stronger with different products. You know, you're right. We used to have the timber walls. Now we're going to composite walls. But then there's other substitute products coming in instead of timber. You know, so we're evolving, and we do it differently here. You know, I think probably the biggest craze that we've had over the last probably 10, maybe a little bit less, is this off-road product. What I used to call, we used to stick some checker plate down the side and put 15-inch wheels, it was an off-roader. But now we really are. You know, the chassis have been re-engineered, the suspension's been engineered. You know, I remember my early days in Windsor, independent suspensions were very, very expensive. And they still are, but they're the common norm now. It's the way we like to experience our lifestyle. And I think that's what's changed our consumer, is that you can go and see and do so much here, and why not do it, particularly in your own backyard.
And I tend to agree, you know, because from what we've noticed as manufacturers that, you know, people want that endless power, because it's not that they want to go necessarily to off-road these days, but they want to get off grid. You know, so they want to get off the beaten track and they want to stay out further for longer. So hence the reason why, you know, we hand in hand tried to develop a product for us with the AusX platform that would help our customers. And, you know, we've developed a lot more products that can also help our customers to stay off grid for longer. And, you know, we've now transitioned our product to being the off grid range of 2023. So every single one of our vans are off-road and off-grid, because we know that that's the way that people are heading. And the question I had for you is, do you think that's taken a little bit of an effect on caravan parks? You know, you being a part of all of the industry, do you hear it from caravan parks that people aren't staying there as much, or, you know, they tend to have short stays with people coming in for a charge and leaving?
It's a really interesting topic, and we've been working with the Australian and Victorian consumer clubs of each of the states and the national as well. And I actually proposed this exact question to them. I said, are you guys going to caravan parks, or what are you doing? There's a couple of comments to it. Some parks have been shutting down with the capturing of land, which is okay. But the caravanners these days want that freedom and space. And I think that was really what you were talking about. It's the demographic and the people using our products are so evolved, and there's so many different natures to it. People are still doing caravan parks, and they continue to do that for the facilities, the locations, the lifestyle that it has. But the comment from the consumer clubs was a couple of things. That the products now we've got so big, so the access in and out of some of the caravan parks haven't been upgraded to cater for that. It's not so much the sites and sitting on them. Some of them have issues. But it's then the roads in and out, they're too tight to get around. And yes, then, you know, the peak times are always busy and they don't necessarily want that. But I think we also have learned that how much good stuff we actually have in our backyard that isn't a caravan park. So we want to experience those and see those as well. And that's probably became a lot more known now. With the power of social media and promoting where you can go and what you can do.
Because COVID basically taught us just to go out further. So is that within the hustle and bustle?
Yeah, it's go out further and stay local, yeah. So that was what we learned with COVID. So, you know, in Victoria, as an example, we've got so many great locations within 2 hours of the city. That might not necessarily be a caravan park, but that shouldn't stop you from caravan and camping. But then you can actually see all the different lifestyles you can do. So you might go on go to a caravan park by the beach or by a river, or you might free camp by a river. There's so many opportunities to do with our products. So why not experience them all is, I think, what the consumers have started to realise.
Tell you what, we just did a recent shoot with What's Up Down Under recently. We stayed at a caravan park. It was beautiful. Like, not only did they have all the fun stuff there for the kids, they had like a camp kitchen with wood fire oven pizzas, and directly across from the caravan park was actually the Murray River. So both worlds there.
It's a very good point, Tilly. And I think this is our industry as a whole, caravan parks and the manufacturing product, have come a long way than what they were. And we talked about our experience in 20 years and how much it's changed. But the common people that might have done caravanning 20, 30 years ago, the caravans have changed a lot, and so is the caravan parks. And until you experience those and see those, you don't actually realise. And one of the recent studies we've been doing is looking at going, well, it's a fifth of the price to go and stay at a caravan park than it is at a hotel, but you get about 10 more things of what you could do at a hotel, and you're in probably a better location, and you got more freedom, and camping or staying in your own product. So there's so many more benefits to it, and particularly with the global economy at the moment, it's a great value proposition to continue to get out there, experience things with your family and friends, and continue to have holidays.
Exactly right. You make new friends and, experience different things. And, like caravanning is not, for example, you don't go caravanning just to go caravanning. You go caravanning to meet people and have a bit of a lifestyle change. So, being at a caravan park, I love it when I'm there and people see our van or other vans around us and they're just amazed by how big it is or all the colours about it. They want to look inside of it, and just to see that excitement on someone's face again and again, it's really fun for us.
I describe our industry, Tilly, as a family, both internally and externally. And I think when you go caravanning and you meet people at caravan parks or when you're travelling around, it's like they become friends and family, and everyone's got the same passion, enthusiasm. But I think we're also the same internally of the industry as well. We are very passionate about our products and what we do, but also there's so much camaraderie in working together and driving things together and working for those greater good. But yeah, it's really a family, I think, in terms of both inside and outside.
Very well said, Dominic Toretto.
Dominic Toretto. That's out now. That's the new one's out. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen it. I won't spoil it for you, but I have seen part one. Now, Daniel, on a completely, we'll finish up with some caravan talk, but I'm going to ask you a question. It's been in my head for a very long time. How many sports jackets do you own? Because every time I see you, mate, you've got a different set of threads on you. Whether it's the colourful array. I know you match them to your socks, so we can't see your socks at the moment, but you're pretty matchy. How many do you own, mate? And do you do the ironing at home, or is that done by your maid? Obviously being the CEO now, you've got a maid.
That I've got a maid. I have the Hawthorn Football Club socks on at the moment, so we just to let you know. Jackets. How many jackets do I have? Probably. I've never counted them. Probably about 12 or 13 jackets. I would have. Try to have one for a different day of the week, but you got to mix it up like you. But I wear socks, unlike you, because I know that you don't wear socks.
I wear the fashionable anklets.
That's it.
Every jacket that you've got, I've got 2 pairs of Air Jordans. So some people have a some people have a jacket fetish. I've got a shoe fetish. What can I say?
So, in terms of who does the ironing, I did a bit of it on the weekend, but it's the first time in a while. Yeah. I'm fortunate that my mother-in-law comes and helps us out a fair bit.
Oh yeah, that's definitely. She must be in the favourites of your contact list.
She is definitely. She's top of the list.
Just so we can say hello to her.
Well, I think you got to prioritise your time, don't you, Tilly? And my focus is growing and driving the industry forward. So doing the ironing might be not the exact thing to do.
So Mother's Day is definitely a really big thing in the Sahlberg household.
That's it. That's exactly right.
Nice.
It's a balancing act.
100%. Yeah, Dan, I just want to touch on one more subject, right? Caravan related. We talked about earlier, me 14 years ago, you nearly 20 years ago, we were thrown in the deep end, and, you'll sink or you'll swim, and you're the planning fella and I was the warranty guy and whatever it might be. Nowadays, things are changing. So, as I'm sure you know, we're about to embark after July on a new set of rules that are, I guess, more revolutionising the manufacturing end of the caravan industry. So from caravan industry of Victoria land, how do you think that's playing on manufacturers' minds and consumers' minds?
I think that it's a thing that we've been wanting to do for a very long time. In creating a standard, it also will enforce the compliance and regulations through RVSA, the Road Vehicle Safety Act that's coming. Standards Act that's coming. But what I think, and probably from my learning through this, we're very similar position to what the auto industry in the early 80s was, where it grew by itself, it got to a point, but how does it grow further? But how do we ensure products meet the right standards with certification testing? That was what they went through. And I think our industry and the rapid growth we've been growing double digits since the late 90s, every year on year. We did go back a little bit with COVID, but then we've gone back further than what we were. But I think the industry needs it to help the consumer understand, but also it's expected that the products would be of a certain standard, and this is what this will implement. Each manufacturer needs to have a vehicle type approval, then they're going to be audited to their standards to make sure that every single product that's produced is to the Australian design rules and Australian standards. Now, we know, Tilly, that not all the standards cover everything in our product, and there is some gaps. They're working through, as an example, the brake standard at the moment. There's no brake standard or testing standard for brakes, but they're working through that. So there's going to be some changes as we go along. But really, it's a good thing for industry as long as it doesn't go over the top in terms of, the rigorousness and the compliance burden on businesses. But because that will add to the cost, but it's also needed. We need to make sure the products are certified and tested to the right standard, be independently done through that to make sure they're right for the consumer.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, it's been a long time coming. So the customers have been asking for it for a very long time. And I guess all the manufacturers that have put a lot of time and effort into getting all of their paperwork ready and all of the processes in their factories ready, they'll be the ones, I guess, reaping the rewards in the end. Now, Dan, before I let you go, mate, you guys do a lot of good work at the caravan industry of Victoria. If people want to find out some more about what you guys do and some of the affiliate sponsors or partnerships that you've got, where should they go to find that information?
Where do they go now, or where do they go in the future, Tilly? Because we're about to shake it up a bit, but that's okay.
Is this an exclusive? Hang on. Is this an exclusive? The Off-Grid
It is an exclusive.
Exclusive?
Yeah, it is an exclusive. We're going to be rebranding very shortly. Our name is not changing, but we've got two websites at the moment which will merge into one. So we've got our ciavic.com.au website, but we've also got our Go Make Some Memories website, which is our consumer site. In the near future, they'll be both merged together to be the Caravan Industry Victoria website, which will house everything to do with caravan and camping from both an industry point, but also a consumer point as well. So our accreditation programs that we do, our events that we do, the hints, tips that we do, you mentioned What's Up Down Under. We've done a lot of publications and a lot of segments with them. All the content will be in there. So for allowing for the consumers, but also have all our members in there as well. So you'll be able to click through to their sites. So they're probably the main things. Probably the best one to do is follow our socials at the moment with Caravan Industry Victoria.
Yep, beautiful. Well, make sure you set aside a little banner or a little section on that website for the Off-Grid podcast, Daniel?
Why not? We're looking for partners, so why not? Let's have a chat.
Beautiful, mate. Mates rates for your van and the Off-Grid podcast on the website. There we go.
That's exactly right.
Caroline's Mafia strikes again. Daniel, I just want to say thank you again for spending the time out. Hopefully you didn't get a parking ticket. And, mate, I'll see you on Off the Grid.
Awesome, mate. Thank you very much and great initiative. Well done.
Have a good day.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Off-Grid podcast. If you're passionate about off-grid adventures and have a unique story, we'd love to have you on as a guest. Connect with us to share your experiences and inspire others with your off-grid journey. Remember, life is an adventure meant to be lived off the grid. Don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories, helpful tips, and exciting adventures. This is the Off-Grid podcast, powered by Retreat Caravans.